What is up, everybody? Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. As usual, there is news to talk about throughout crypto. You've got banks in the Philippines launching a stablecoin on Hedera. You have news from Monica Long regarding potential XRP. What am I saying? What is up, everybody? Solomon here. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. As always, tons of news across the entire crypto landscape. Just going to hop in here. We've got $1 trillion asset manager Standard Chartered to offer Bitcoin and custody services in the European Union. I don't know if it's 1 trillion. I think it's like 870 billion, but still massive. Obviously, the EU has kind of the MiCA regulations and everything else in place, which isn't super comprehensive, but at least a starting point. This isn't the first time that we've seen kind of the institutional access into crypto. Obviously, there's tons of examples out there. The biggest one that sticks out to me is back in 2022 when Coinbase was selected by BlackRock to provide their Aladdin platform clients access to crypto trading and custody via Coinbase Prime. If you actually do a little bit of digging into Aladdin by BlackRock, I'm pretty sure it's like $21.6 trillion of assets under management. And that is only 1/3 of the biggest clients on Aladdin that hit that $21.6 trillion. So obviously pretty crazy. And Standard Chartered offering Bitcoin and crypto custody services in the EU. It's going to be a pretty like crypto custody focused beginning here because there's a bunch of news surrounding it. But on the heels of this, people that have been here for a while probably remember this story, but this is this guy in the UK that accidentally threw away his laptop, and the hard drive on that laptop contained 7,500 Bitcoin, which he accidentally discarded in 2013. I'm sure you can do the math on that. It's probably around 600 million euros worth of Bitcoin. And this leads in pretty much everything we've been talking about around self-custodianship of your own assets. And really, I don't think that a lot of people understand how important it is to safeguard your crypto, your private keys, those 24 words that you end up writing down. I talked about Decentralized Recovery Alliance yesterday, adding tools to kind of streamline the user experience in self-custodianship of your assets, decentralizing that key management, splitting it up, making it safer, making it more secure, post-quantum, all that stuff. This is a perfect example, right? Can you imagine how you would feel if you lost $600 million worth of XRP or HBAR or Bitcoin or any of that stuff? You can see it in the guy's face. I mean, he just looks like super distraught. Distraught isn't even, you can't even put it into words, right? But yeah, make sure you guys keep your private keys safe and all that other stuff. Also, kind of in the same vein, make sure that you're double checking every single thing that you do in this space as usual. You see stories like this that are just horror stories coming out. A user paid a $208,000 fee for a single transaction on Solana. We've seen a lot of people make mistakes like this. We see it all the time with Ethereum. You also see a lot of mistakes being made when people are going, like with NFTs. You see people accidentally selling an NFT that should be, tens of thousands of dollars, and they end up only selling it for, 20 USDC or whatever it is, and horrible mistakes. So double, triple check everything that you're doing. Double, triple check the addresses that you send to prior to sending anything. Always send a test transaction that's super small first. These are just bad stories. And you look, it's happening to people, so it can happen to any of us, right? So always make sure that you're double checking and doing your due diligence. Coming out of Ripple, Monica Long, the president at Ripple, expecting to see a new stablecoin, Real USD, on more platforms imminently, and also says that we'll see an XRP ETF soon. I'm not going to play audio here because I don't want to get flagged from Bloomberg, but wouldn't be surprised to see an XRP ETF. Canary Capital also applied not only for an XRP ETF, but Solana and HBAR. This is a couple of months ago. Filed with the SEC to list and trade shares of Spot, Hedera, Solana, and XRP exchange traded products. I think Canary Capital was the one that also launched the HBAR Trust, or filed to launch the HBAR Trust. In November 12th filing, Canary submitting a Form S-1 registration statement with the SEC for review, proposing the commission to allow U.S. investors to trade shares of its Canary Hedera ETF Trust on an unnamed exchange. The proposed investment vehicle is one of the first to offer investors exposures to a spot HBAR exchange traded product. Though the asset manager has also applied to trade and list spot XRP and Solana ETFs. And Gary's on his way out of the SEC, so I think he put out a couple of closing statements, but we're not going to go through those. We've all experienced enough of him for the past few years. So this was kind of the bigger news that came out today, and there's some tie-ins here across some different networks, but Filipino banks plan to launch a multi-issuer stablecoin, which is the ticker is PHPX on Hedera. So later this year, several Filipino banks are planning to launch a multi-bank peso stablecoin PHPX, which will initially operate on the Hedera distributed ledger technology network. The banks include Union Bank of the Philippines, which should ring a bell, and you'll see here in a second. Rizal Commercial Banking, Cantillon Bank, and the Rural Bank of, not going to pronounce it. Singapore startup Just Finance is the initiator, but the banks will have a significant role in the governance, given a key goal is cross-border payments. The plan is to include more than just a stablecoin. There's a need to exchange stablecoins in different currencies. So this is Union Bank, or more specifically, its fintech spinoff UBX, has been involved in blockchain for years. And again, you'll see here in a second, including managing a quasi-stablecoin network, albeit in a closed-loop system. In 2018, setting up a token-based automated clearinghouse to enable payments for rural and community banks that were not members of the national retail payment system to funnel them via Union Bank. All right, so stablecoin coming to Hedera with multiple banks in the Philippines. Union Bank should definitely ring a bell. They have been in blockchain for years, gaining regulatory approval back in 2023 for a crypto assets business. Also, back in 2022, in 2019, the bank collaborated with Ripple to power a wallet using XRP-based on-demand liquidity. In 2022, Union Bank expanded its crypto services by offering them via Mataco, which is a Ripple-owned company. So I find this pretty interesting that these banks, including Union Bank, are launching a stablecoin on Hedera for cross-border payments, among other things. And it does say that it's the first DLT, so I'm sure that there's going to be more distributed ledgers. It makes sense, right? We're not going to just have like these gigantic, walled gardens. But Hedera is going to be first for this stablecoin, it looks like. And they've done trials in the past with XRP and ODL, on-demand liquidity, so found that to be pretty interesting. I do want to say, to kind of step back a little bit, sometimes this isn't up-to-date price action on the BLX here. This is, I think it's a day delayed, but I did want to pull this up for reference because I think Bitcoin's probably at like $92,000 or something like that right now. And I just find it interesting, like if you look at Bitcoin and you look at the total altcoin market cap, the past two cycles, the top of the prior cycle has ended up being the following cycle's bottom. So, and I always like just kind of looking at weird things like that. So maybe it doesn't have any relevance at all. But I do find it interesting. So if you go back to 2018 and the peak, around that peak of the body of the candle, we pretty much touched base at the bottom in 2022 of this market. And then again, if you look at 2021, the tops in 2021, if we already bottomed during the bear market, last year and the year before, the bottom here, the top of 2021, essentially the bottom of 2024. And that's just for Bitcoin. If you look at alts, you see a similar story, which obviously you would. But January 2018 top, pretty much dead nuts bottom of 2023. And the October 2021 top of right around $3 trillion. We're sitting right at that top right now. So we never broke above that until literally just recently, as far as the total crypto market cap. Bitcoin obviously kind of doing its thing a little bit earlier than everything else, but I think it's interesting, right? So what I'm trying to get at here is like, if right now, and I'm not saying that we can't go lower and that this isn't totally wrong and we don't go back down to $1 trillion crypto market cap or lower or blah, 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 blah. What I'm saying is that if you use the past handful of years here, going back to 2018, and you have this happen twice, 3 times as a trend, right? So it would need to happen again. But that essentially is saying that the bottom of this next cycle will basically be $3 trillion market cap for all of crypto. So then you got to think, okay, well, how high do you have to go? You can do your percent drawdowns and all that crap, if that stuff's even still relevant, or get as many indicators as you want to try to get together. But I like looking at this stuff that's kind of on bigger time frames. This is a 3-month chart, so every candle represents 3 months. But I do find it interesting. Like, if we repeat again, what is the top of this? What is the top of this next cycle potentially going to be with the crypto total market cap? And then correlate that to the next bottom, if this does become a trend, potentially being $3 trillion. So if that's the case, we are literally at the bottom of where the next bear market is going to be right now. So I don't know. I just like looking at that stuff. I think that stuff's interesting sometimes. I'm certainly not a TA guy. I rarely do any of that stuff, but I do look at bigger stuff. And in the past, you know, I did end up buying a lot of digital assets, like near the bottom in 2022 timeframe, I want to say it was, just from like measuring time and percent drawdowns and all that other crap, and removing emotion entirely. And I think it's just an interesting thought exercise to see, like, okay, well, if this happens again, the bottom of the bear market, when we do get into a bear market, might be around $3 trillion, which is literally where we're at right now. So huge news coming out of the Philippines, though, which I think is super interesting. Stablecoin PX going to be launched on Hedera, distributed, or Hedera, the hash graph. Prior trials from some of these banks, especially Union Bank with XRP and stuff like that. I would imagine, obviously, more ledgers and more networks coming in the future for all these stable coins that end up launching. But I do think it's interesting that they're launching on Hedera first. HBAR, XRP, Solana, ETFs, ETPs, all this stuff, super interesting. And yeah, self-custody of your own assets, making sure that your stuff's secure, triple checking addresses and stuff like that. Double checking fees for transactions, especially if you're like using MetaMask and stuff like that, is super important. Double checking sell and buy prices if you are buying or selling assets, to make sure that you're not getting screwed. And yeah, that being said, $1 trillion Standard Chartered to offer Bitcoin and crypto custody services in the EU. And we know that they're not alone there. We talked about BlackRock and their 21.6 trillion, just with the 1/3 of the clients on Aladdin assets under management, which I think is just massive. So when you put $21.6 trillion with 1/3 of BlackRock's Aladdin clients, when you put Standard Chartered's $870 billion, and you do all this stuff and you put it into the context of, like, literally, you know, not financial advice here, but where the crypto markets are at right now. I mean, I put out a post like a week ago that's the entire market cap of crypto is still under individual companies. Like Apple, obviously Apple's huge, but Apple is an individual company, and Apple individually has a larger market cap than all of crypto combined, right? And you just start thinking about, like, okay, well, is crypto going to integrate with a lot of the blockchain, going to integrate with a lot of the stuff that Apple's doing, that's all of these companies are doing? Is it going to integrate with the entire world and society and how we live and everything else, like just like the internet did, right? And my thought process is yes, or I wouldn't be here. You know, this is obviously kind of like the internet of information to the internet of value, to be as cliche as possible, but just puts things into perspective here. Like, sometimes it's, if you pay attention to looking at prices in crypto, it gets emotion involved. And if you get emotion involved into anything, you end up making dumb decisions 99.9% of the time. And sometimes it makes sense just to step back and think about what's going on. Look at the whole forest and not just zoom in on a tree. with where this space ends up, right? And this technology ends up. So that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you when I talk to you. Thanks. Bye.